Welcome back to Underrated Movies. I'm your guy, I'm your man, Mr. Alton Henry. Today I'm going to talk to you about another film that I just rewatched that I believe should be revisited. Um, wow, 2005. I actually remember when I heard about this film. I think it was a Godzilla marathon that I remember watching the making of, and I really wanted to watch it in theaters. Fortunately, I didn't get too young at the time. This movie, I think it's forgotten over time. With a reintroduction, I believe it is one of the best comic book films to ever hit the screen. Sin City, starring Brittany Murphy, Jessica Alba, Michael Clark Duncan, Clive Owen, Bruce Willis, and Mickey Rourke. And it's really an anthology of crime stories that are intertwined, driven by narrative, by first-person perspectives. And it's and I haven't read any of the graphic novels, but I skimmed through them on Barnes and Nobles, and they look amazing. And I would have to say, with this film, probably the one of the best neo noir films I've ever seen. And visually, the film is a visual masterpiece. This is directed by Frank Miller and Robert Rodriguez. Quentin Tarantino also co-directs a sequence in the film. I'll also give him credit. I actually remember his name popping up in the making of. I was actually really excited to see this film. And really, the story is really an anthology of three characters. You focus one, Bruce Willis's character, who rescues a little girl, from a serial rapist, whom soon, years later, their fate meets up again, and Bruce Willis deals with it. With the girl grows up to be Jessica Alba. The second story, I believe that first story is called That Yellow Bastard. The second story is called The Hard Goodbye, and that one is the centers on Mickey Rourke's character, who somewhat a little of a disfigured kind of guy who falls in love with a prostitute, and she is murdered. And then he goes on a murderous rampage of revenge and investigate her demise. And you have a third story. What's that third story? I believe it was The Big Kill, and that is Clive Owen, who tries to get his current girlfriend out of a jam, dealing with a crooked cop who abuses her, and turns out it leads to a string of events where they have to end up murdering the cop and ditching or covering up his body, that it could trigger a street war with in the streets. I'm gonna just keep it a little bit, because this movie's hard R. It is hard R with the violence, mostly with the violence, the content, but visually, this is a noir, black and white. This whole film is black and white with a little hint of color, highlighting certain moments in the film, where it's represented through visually what's going on in the minds of the characters. And this film, let it be known, is narrative driven, so the main characters are narrating pretty much to the duration of their story, and it does give that detective noir classic vibes you would hear about, know about. It's a classic noir film, and there's some pretty cool action, but mostly related to its barrier. It's a crime film, and I actually like that these films were intertwined in the theatrical edition. Now there is an extended cut which I've watched, and I can tell you it's supposed to be edited the way as the theatrical cut. Is just that there are ad scenes involved into the movie. And the extended version on the DVD, you will watch it by segments. You don't watch it you don't watch it the way that it was edited in the theatrical. And the movie, I think, would have benefited if they retained it, but it gives you the option to watch it separately. And really, I think for most people, I could see this film be very divisive for its violence, for sure, because the violence is shocking. And I could see some people be a little bit bored with it, because again, it's a narrative-driven film. So, and the action is kind of quick, and it doesn't really. I mean, it's the film is an exaggeration of. It's a comic book movie, so they literally take the advantage of, what's the word I'm looking for? Exaggeration of the world, and they embrace the film. The film embraces that exaggeration of the comic book. So you have to kind of get with the idea that, yeah, this film is a comic book. It's literally a shot for shot reiteration of the stories from the comic books of Sin City. And I feel like this is a overlooked gem. And I feel like over years people kind of just put this on the side, but I would really like to see a re-release of this film. This film is quite phenomenal. There was a sequel that did come out in 2014, and I think that was well, the sequel is not as good as the original, and I think for that film, I think the demise for that film is that they waited too long to make a sequel. But I do highly recommend checking out Sin City, and this is, I would say, maybe a film that may not. Yeah, I think it'd be even more divisive rewatching it, but I recommend rewatching it. Most particularly, this film doesn't. There's a lot of violence against the opposite sex in this film. A lot. And I could see the film triggering a lot of people. So that's just a warning. But I mean, hey, guys get brutalized in this film as well. So I'm just saying. But this movie is entertaining. It's a comic book Pulp Fiction style film. Sin City. Have you seen it? Comment below. Let me know if you have, and let me know what is your favorite underrated movie.